Hey, it's Rob. We're back. We're doing another Offsec Proving Grounds practice machine. This time we're doing a machine called Apex. It is a Linux box rated as intermediate, and I thought it was pretty difficult. It took me several hours. So without further ado, you can see I am on Offsec's VPN, and I do have Apex spun up, and here's the IP address. The first thing that we did was we ran an mmap scan, surface version detection, T4 aggressive on all ports, and what came back was 80 running Apache, looks like Apex Hospital, 445, which is Samba, 3306 MySQL, and that's about it looks like. So there are numerous things that you need to do here. All three of these are going to come into play. So the Apache server, Samba, and the MySQL database. So wherever you start, you start. What we're going to do first is we are going to take a look at SMB. So I'm going to do Actually, the first thing I think I'm going to do is look at their website. And it's Apex Hospital, and there's this contact at apex.offsec. So I think just to make things easier so I don't have to constantly put the IP address in, we're just going to do apex.offsec into the etc host file. So that's what we're going to do. Sudo nano etc hosts. Down to the bottom, and it's 192.168.123.145 tab apex.offsec. Control O to save, Control X to exit. So now we should be able to reference the machine using apex.offsec. So the first thing that we're going to do after that is I think we're going to go and enumerate SMB. So we'll do SMB, and first we'll look and see what's available. So TAC L. And it looks like there's 3 shares available, one of which is docs. And it hung a little bit there, but that's okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try and get into docs. There we do. Now, just in the interest of time, I've downloaded both of these PDFs. They're basically marketing material and some instructions for OpenEMR, which at this point in the my working of this machine, I didn't even know what that was, to be honest. But there's nothing in there useful. You will need this access, though. So just keep this window open. We're going to come back here in a little while. All right, so after that, when you have these, front-end websites that don't really do a lot, I did notice there is, if you click on the scheduler, it does bring up this OpenEMR. Now, I tried default credentials. They did not work. So I didn't really know what to do any further with this. So what I ended up doing was running GoBuster. And if you run GoBuster on the IP address, and I use the raft large directories, and I even search for some files with php.txt and .xml, it's still running, but what we need is right here, is this file manager. So if we go back to the website and we tack file manager on there, let me just make sure I got that right. Let's do this. Apex.offsec file manager. There we go. I kept forgetting I put the apex.offsec into the host file. So anyway, if we look and it's this file manager software, which you can figure out by just clicking on that little question mark, and it's responsive file manager version 9.13.4, which is good to know. And if we go into the documents folder, this looks remarkably familiar. This looks very similar to what we saw in our SMB share. So those two things appear to be mapped, okay? So what I did was I looked for exploits for OpenEMR. I looked for exploits for responsive file manager. Everything that I found for OpenEMR was authenticated. That was any good. I did find a directory traversal for responsive file manager, which I love directory traversal exploits. So if we go to that, I found it right in SearchSploit. It's 45987 in SearchSploit in ExploitDB. And it's pretty interesting in that they give you multiple options here, like copy, paste. I didn't know what any of this was at this point. I just went right to the one where you can read files, okay? And the thing that we're going to start with is, and basically all you have to do is copy this curl statement. The thing you will need to do is go to your responsive file manager and grab the session cookie or the PHP session ID. I'll show you how to do that in a second. So you're going to need the PHP session ID, and then you just modify this. You can just put apex.offsec in here, and that should be fine. Okay. So the way you get your cookie is normally you would just right click on the page and select developer tools. Unfortunately, that doesn't work here for some reason. So the way you would do it is you'd click on the hamburger menu, go to more tools, click on web developer tools. Now to get your PHP session, you just go to the storage tab here, and then your PHP sesh ID is what you need. So you're going to need to grab that. And all of these curl statements we send over, you need to make sure that you have that PHP session ID in there. Okay, so if we look at that exploit, it's pretty simple. We're just going to open up a tab, new terminal, and I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like when you properly format it. And we're going to try and grab the etc password file, okay? So you can see here, what this is doing is it's trying to do like an open and edit and preview mode for these files. And the path that we're using is the directory traversal. That's the SQL.conf one. We don't want to do that one yet. Let me hit Control-C clear, and let's grab the etc password file, etc password one. Copy, paste. Okay, so you can see we have the directory traversal for etc password. Here's our PHP session ID, which we just grabbed, and this is trying to open this file in like preview mode. Okay, so if we hit enter, we get the etc password file. One thing to note is there is a user named White. So what I tried to do was maybe grab the SSH key for White, see if we could do that. So I'll paste this curl statement in. It's the same thing. I'm just looking at home white SSH underscore ID or SA. Could not find the file. So there is no SSH key there, okay? Now what I did was some research on OpenEMR, and I was trying to find the config files, and it's pretty interesting in that the one that they say that you need is this SQL-conf.php that is probably going to have credentials. And if you read further, it tells you exactly where to look. The problem that I ran into here was that I didn't pay attention right here where it talks about var dub. I actually kept looking in the HTML directory for this installation, thinking that OpenEMR was installed in var dub HTML when it essentially it's not, and I'll show you exactly what happens. So if we clear the screen and I try to grab that SQL.conf file, you can see I'm looking in var dub HTML OpenEMR sites default SQL-conf. Okay, here's our PHP session ID. So if I hit enter, could not find the file. So I was like banging my head against the wall until I finally stopped being an idiot and I removed that HTML directory. When you do that, it's issue that you run across. So we'll go back here, we'll get rid of the HTML, okay, and then we'll hit enter. And it says you are not allowed to edit this file. So that is a completely different error than the file not found. So I was stuck here for a bit, and I actually thought I was going to give up on this exploit, and I found another exploit for responsive file manager. It's in Dev Team 12x's GitHub, and it is using the same exploit, but it's using the copy, cut, paste clipboard functionality. Now, if you go back to this original exploit, I just used the read, but if you come down here, there's copy and cut, okay? And it's available using the curl statement as well. So I said, well, you know what? Why do I need to use, why would I need to use the exploit if I could just do this manually? So that's what we did, is I just formatted these strings, and for each, for what you're, every file you're trying to get, you would have to run it twice. Once to copy it and another to paste it, okay? I hope that makes sense. Where it theoretically is going to paste it is this responsive file manager. Now, I wasn't paying attention initially, and I'll show you exactly what happens. We'll try and do the Etsy password file, okay? So I'm going to clear the screen. And now we're going to move to that copy and cut, and we're going to try and do it with the Etsy password file. So the cut is not a problem. It shouldn't be. You should just get nothing back, no feedback. So you see how neat now the action is not read, edit. It is copy, cut, right? And here's the path to the Etsy password file. We got our session key and everything in there, right? We hit enter. Ah, it looks great. Okay, so now if we go to paste it, let's see here. If we go to paste it, let me just grab the right statement. Copy. So if we use the statement as is, right? Where this path is just like that, okay? And we paste it and we hit enter. It looks like it works. But if you come over to the responsive file manager and you reset, there's nothing there. And if you go back to SMB, and do an LS, we got disconnected. Let's reconnect. It's not there. That's when I thought that potentially, and let me clean some of these windows up. We don't need this. We're good there. And we're good there. Okay. That's where I thought that potentially it was back a directory, right? Now, here's the problem. I'm pretty sure if we put a PHP file in here, it may not render correctly. It may, the server might try to render it differently. And the only other way we can access this is if in this folder here, because you can see these are the two files that are available via the SMB, right? We see those two files are right here. So we want to see if we can get the password file over here. That way we can see it via SMB. And I'll show you why this is important. Trust me, this took me hours to figure out, okay? I'm trying to save you guys some time here. So what we need to do is, if we go back here, we need to, since this is putting this in the root of the file manager directory, I think if you just put /documents, it should move it to where those two files are, and that is mapped to the SMB share. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to come back over here. And we're going to put documents. Okay, and I think we have to put another slash there. And let's hit enter and see if it copied it over. We may have to recopy it, but we'll see. Yeah, it's not there. So we need to run the copy part again. All right, so okay, so we're going to run copy cut again. and then we're going to run the paste on the documents folder. And let's see, I think that should work, I think. And let's see what happens. It's there. So now if we go over to the SMB share and we do an LS, we can see the password file. So I completely ignored SMB until I got to the point where I was able to get the SQLconf.php, because no matter what I did, it will not show up in this right here. It just will not, because it's a .php file and the server's probably doing something on the server side, okay? So let's go back here. And let's now try this with that SQL conf.php. So we'll copy, paste. So we're doing the same exact thing, copy and paste, only we're going var www openemr sites default SQL conf.php. We have our session, and we're doing the copy cut. We're going to hit enter. Now we're going to do the paste, and we're making sure that we put it into the documents folder, okay? Going to hit enter. Now here's what I'm talking about. If you come over here and you refresh this, that SQLconf.php is not there. But if you go to SMB and we do an LS, there it is. I spent probably an hour just on this because I had forgotten about SMB. So now we can get SQLconf.php. Okay, we can exit out of here and we can go to our home directory and see what's in there. We're going to open this with mousepad, and it looks like we have database credentials. So if you remember from our Nmap scan, SQL is open, so we should be able to log into SQL remotely. A lot of times this is locally bound, but in this case it doesn't appear to be the case. So what we're going to do is we are going to try and log in copy, paste clipboard. Now, I want to show you what happens here if you just try this. So basically, we're logging in to the OpenEMR, as OpenEMR to the database on this IP address. We want it to prompt for a password, okay? We hit enter, and I put in the password. Copy. I get this TLS error. Now, the way to get around that, you probably saw it here a little bit, is you tac skip SSL, okay? If you get that error, if you search on that error in Google, it'll tell you exactly what to do. It's skip, tac skip, tac SSL. So now if we hit enter and we paste the password, we are connected to the database. So what we can do is show databases, semicolon. There's two databases, so we're going to use OpenEMR. And it may take a little bit because this, you'll see when we get to the tables part, it's a pretty large database. All right, so now we can type show tables. There's all the tables. Now I went through users and all of that stuff. That's not what you want. What you want is the users secure. So we're going to go select star from users underscore secure. So, make sure I got that right. I do. And we have a hash. Now, to save you some more heartache, I tried hash with salt. The salt is not needed. What we can do is we can just copy this hash, copy selection, we can nano hash dot text. We can paste. Control O to save. Control X to exit. John hash dot text Rocky. And we already cracked this, so now you just come back here and instead of the word list, you just do show. It's the doctor. Okay, so now I tried to log in as White using SSH and this password. That did not work. So I think what you have to do here, it's been a bit, you have to go to OpenEMR. So let's go back to apex.offsec. We go to the scheduler. We can close this now. And I believe it's admin, the doctor. All right, so this is great. We actually have credentials now. And the reason that's great is because all of the exploits that I found that were good were authenticated. So if you search for this version of OpenEMR authenticated, the one that came back was 2018 17179 CVE for OpenEMR. And what we're going to do here is we are going to download this code and we are going to run it on our machine. So let's see. Yes. And another thing to remember, this is Python 2. I spun my wheels for quite some time because I didn't read the instructions completely. And in the code here, it says Python 3. I found another version of this code that was telling you to run it as Python 3. So he says Python. If you do it Python or Python 2, it should be just fine. All right, so we're going to download this code. We're going to open it in a folder. We're going to create a new folder called OpenEMR. We're going to drop this code in there. We're going to take a look at this code. And really, I think it just needs, let's see, it needs the host, the user, the password, and then the command that you want to run. So I chose to run a reverse shell. And I believe I just used the simple bash one. So let's give this a whirl and see what happens. We shouldn't need to do a virtual environment if this is using Python 2, okay? So let's close, let's actually go back to the folder and open a terminal here. And then we will see if we can run this exploit. So Python 2, and then we're going to run and I think that's all we should need to do. Now we obviously need to start a listener. So netcat NLVP on 80. And then let's see if this works for us. I don't think we needed to modify that exploit, but we'll find out soon enough. All right, and we're going to hit enter. Injecting payload, so that's a good sign. Let's see what happened. Yeah, we got a shell. Hallelujah, hallelujah. So let's see. I think, from what I remember, Python 3 is not on here. Oh no, Python 3 is on there. So let's see if we can do job control. Copy, paste clipboard. Yep, okay. So now I think what we can do is we can see, can we get into home? ls cd white ls cat local.txt. Okay, we have the user flag. This machine was a lot of work, man, let me tell you. So now we'll do normal Linux enumeration. History. Nothing. Sudo tac l. We don't know dub data. All right, let's see if we can find any files with the suid set. It's not looking like it so far, but we'll see. No, not really. New ID, new UID map. There's some weird ones here, but I don't really think we're going to be able to use those. Let's see if we can cat etc on tab. Nothing there. I wonder if we can switch user to white and use the doctor password. No. Let's see if we could switch user to root using the doctor password. Yep, there we go. So now we can cd to root. We can do an ls, and we can cat proof.txt. And there's the flag. This machine was an absolute nightmare. I spent hours just trying to figure out where things were and how to use those exploits. But ultimately, this was very useful for me because this is probably one of the weaker things that I'm not so good at, which is the web app pen testing. So the way we took advantage of this machine was we ran an nmap scan. We saw that SMB, MySQL, and 80 and 22 were up. We went to the website, added apex.offsec to the host file, saw that the website was basically running some kind of Apex front-end hospital software, and when we clicked on the scheduler, it took us to open EMR. We did some go busting, and we found a file manager directory, so we went to that. And in the meantime, we also logged into SMB after we found a doc share. We noticed that the doc share and the file manager documents folder were pretty much the same. So we had access to those files through two different methods. We then found a directory traversal exploit, which worked great to get the etc password file, but we could not open the sqlconf.php because we didn't have the ability to edit, which is what that directory traversal was using. So I found another exploit, looked at the code, saw that it was doing copy and cut and paste. So went back to the original exploit and changed the directory traversal to first use copy, then use cut. What I noticed was that the open EMR instance was not in var HTML. It was just in var. Once I figured that out, I figured out when I was pasting it, it was pasting it at the root of the file manager software, which was not accessible from SMB. Now that didn't hurt us for the password file, but when we ran the copy and paste on the sqlconf.php, because of the way the server was treating that file, we couldn't see it in the file manager. So we needed to access it from SMB. So we decided to add the documents slug to where it was being pasted. That put it into the documents folder in file manager. We still couldn't see it online, but now it was available when we looked at SMB. So we got a password from there. We used that password to log into the MySQL database. We retrieved the hash for a user. We decrypted that hash, it was the password. We used that password to log into the OpenEMR system, which gave us the option to use authenticated exploits. We found one, we used it, we got a reverse shell as www data. We did normal Linux enumeration and really couldn't find too much. I was going to run linps and everything, but I decided to check for password reuse. We tried it with white, that did not work. Then we tried it with root, and it did work, and we were able to get a root shell and cat out the flag. So I hope you found this video useful. I hope you learned something. If I used any links, they'll be in the description below. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, drop a comment. I'll be happy to chat with you. I do have a Discord server up and running. If you want to check that out, the information's on my YouTube page. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.